Well, let me just thank you, Leslie, for the opportunity to get to know so many members of this community, and I get to tell you about yourselves today. And I have, in a couple of short days, truly come to love this community. And I have so appreciated the time I've spent with you, and I look forward to sharing the work we did together. So, if you look at the screen, you will see a few pictures of the Vermillion-Foster family across multiple generations, from my husband's family when he was a child to my father holding my great nephew, 88 years in difference in ages. And my father has passed on, and Anton is a little bit bigger, but I've just loved that picture. But all of these pictures, they take my family across multiple generations, and I can kind of see this golden thread weaving them together. And I can look at the constellation of these pictures and more pictures and say, this is us. This is us. Anybody know the TV show This Is Us? My husband and I and my kids have watched all of it. And what I love so much about it is how it depicts how an event years ago carries forward through generations and weaves people together, and how this incident over here affects a family member down the road. And it speaks to me of this kind of universal energy that weaves through our life experiences, much like the song that was just sung. You know, time moves through it all, and it's all part of the same sacred whole. And every time I do vision, mission, core values work, I'm reminded of this. Because as I work with communities in this work, I can see where you've been and celebrate the rich history of what has created this ministry. But I can also see who you are today, and we can stretch into what Spirit is calling you to be tomorrow. And so this morning, I get to talk about you. This is you. And before I do that, I want to take a moment and to celebrate all the people that joined me both yesterday and last month in creating what I get to share with you this morning. So if you were part of that either day, please stand so we can acknowledge and celebrate you. So I asked them yesterday, what do you want me to share? And they wanted to point out that this community, about 20 people showed up for both sessions. So there was rich engagement from this community. And they did the work, I just created the container. So really what I'm sharing with you today is what they have discovered about who you are and what Spirit is calling you to be as you move forward. They also wanted me to say that, it was supportive, it was loving, and it was fun. Now, Leslie mentioned fun earlier. Do you guys not have enough fun with one another? I mean, I kind of got the sense that you do that pretty well. And I feel this joy that is part of who you are. They also wanted me to speak to the fact that this is kind of a moment in time in the rich evolution of who you are becoming and what you're evolving into. There was time for dialoguing and for being heard, and I need to pause there and really celebrate how well this community does that. You know, I love to facilitate, and it's always so sacred, so special when I see a group really being attentive and paying attention to one another and sharing collectively your different ideas, but not being so attached that it becomes a bit of a struggle. You just listen from one another, you learn from one another, you grow with one another. And that was such a wonderful thing to behold. It was also a time of deep listening, not just to one another, but to the voice of Spirit as it moved through the room. Because this work is really not about our human minds. It's about allowing Spirit to move through us, to reveal to us who we are. So let me share what we did. We were really exploring creative formation questions, kind of looking at Unity of Austin from a holistic perspective and asking big questions such as, who are we? Why do we exist? What are we seeking to give expression to today? And these are concentric circles that expand and deepen the more you explore these questions, because then you can get really clear and really responsive to the call of Spirit. So we began with core values, and core values are that most center circle on the diagram. They are the very heart of who you are. They answer the question, who are we? And they stimulate the energy that moves through the pulse of who you are as a community. And there were 3 core values that were identified last month. They were transformative, loving, and inclusive. And I'm going to share a little bit more deeply about this, because it's not just enough to identify words. They have to have power. They have to have meaning. They have to be something that you can live into day by day, moment by moment. So we took each of those core values and we defined what it meant for you, and then we identified behaviors that exemplify living from that core value. So the first core value was transformative. And this is defined as we expand and grow into our authentic selves by embracing our divinity. We expand and grow into who we truly are as divine beings. This is what we say when we speak about transformative. And there was conversation about how it's a journey that never ends, because Spirit is always asking us to be more than we were yesterday, right? And so the behaviors that exemplify this are: we practice the presence, learning to live and love in conscious oneness. We intentionally engage our spiritual practices and we commit to our ongoing soul development and growth. And we had a really, really meaningful conversation yesterday about presence. What does it mean to practice the presence? We probably all have a different answer to that, and that's okay. But one of the things that really kind of brought people together was a recognition that presence can mean something more than our individual notion of God. It's God as it's expressed in other faith traditions. It's God as how we see God in nature. But it's also that eminent sense of God, that personal sense of God. So when we say presence, we're aligning with Unity's first principle that there's one power and one presence, but we're also aligning with the second principle, which says that presence and power, that God exists inside each of us, that each of us is an individualized expression of God. And then we talked about loving, which we defined as we endeavor to express spirit in the world as goodness. We're divine, and we seek to express it through goodness, through kindness, through calling forth and evoking the goodness in one another. And the behaviors are we embrace others and our world with open and compassionate hearts. We release what doesn't serve the highest good, and we celebrate and are present with each other. I see some heads nodding. Doesn't that define who you are? Isn't this how you show up? And when you have these behaviors, you can take them and you can intentionally give expression to them in those moments when you're not feeling so loving. Anybody else have times where you're not feeling so loving? But if we have something we can turn to, then we can shift how we're showing up and begin to extend love even when it may be difficult. Next, inclusive. We welcome and value all people, recognizing diversity as a source of strength. I see this practiced in this community. It was very touching to see the way you held one another, the attention you paid to someone that was struggling with something, the way you sought to reach out and support someone who may have been seeing something a little bit different than you. Behaviors that exemplify inclusive include we encourage and uplift others on our collective spiritual journey. We create a community of belonging with opportunities to learn from one another, and we take action to create an environment where everyone thrives. You know, there was a lot of discussion about community, and that we have our individual growth, which is essential, but we also want to grow as a collective, as a community, that we are collectively seeking to give greater and greater expression to God, and to create a container, a space of belonging where people can show up like that. Yes? Okay, so those are core values. Next, we dug into why we exist. Why do we exist? Why does Unity of Austin exist? If we answer that as simply as so we can come here on Sunday and learn spiritually, it's not big enough. Because each of us, as expressions of the divine, we're created to make a difference in the world. And so we want to extend the wonder and the beauty and the love that we experience here out into the world and make a difference in the world. Another way of looking at this is, what is our greatest vision for the world? So when we're talking about vision, we're talking about something very large. The vision for a community is always pulling you forward, always inviting you to that something more, to extend beyond what you have been before. And I'd like to share a quote from the Revealing Word about vision. Where is it? It says, vision is seeing God as the foundation of all, the source of all, the substance of all, seeing the good, the true, and the beautiful everywhere. In this manner is the eye single and vision perfected. So what did we come up with? Unity of Austin's vision statement is centered in oneness. We empower each other to live our divine potential. You know that golden thread I talked about? You know, as I'm listening to the service, you start with Jim Rosemurvy's Creed of the Heart. Our religion is oneness. You know, it's all tied together. So your vision is about staying centered in oneness, that wholeness that ties everything together. And we know that when we do that, we create the space that empowers others to live from their divine potential and to keep growing and expanding and evolving to their full spiritual depth. Mission answers the how question. How do we give expression to that vision? How do we give expression to spirit in the world today, in light of the culture that is around us, in light of the situations we see in the world? How do we show up as an expression of the divine? And Unity of Austin's mission statement is, we foster community and collective growth through prayer, shared study, and loving action. You see the community there, right? And the community extends beyond these walls as well. It was really important to this community that you serve the world, recognizing that it's not just about us. There was also a lot of conversation about shared study, about really learning and growing together, and anchoring everything in prayer. So that's the work that we have come up with. And we're not quite done. We've got a small team that's going to refine it and finalize it. But we also want input from you. So you should have received a sheet when you came in to provide input. Now, before you start marking everything, remember I said we were listening to Spirit. And I shared a Rumi poem that is very dear to me that says, I give up my opinion on all matters. Well, I endeavor to. but I'm inviting you into a really spacious open-mindedness. I give up my opinion on all matters. I become the reed flute for your breath. So that's what we want to do. So let's just take a moment and center in, letting go. Giving up our tendency to hang on, to become attached, and committing to being the reed flute for the breath of God. And from that space, I invite you to review this sheet and to respond to the few questions there. And I'll give you a few moments to do that, because I know if I allow you to leave, it won't get done. So just take a few moments and reflect on this community. And if you were here over the 2 sessions, you can fill it out too. Your opinion matters. And one down here. 2 down here. Who needs more time? A couple. Okay. Okay, you can continue if you need to as I kind of bring this to conclusion. What I want to share with you now is that the team that worked on this wanted you to know that they are serious about this work, that they are dedicated to carrying it forward, that they believe this is important and they're excited about the energy that's been created, and they want to ignite the fire in this community and bring it forward. They saw this as a snapshot of Unity of Austin in its ongoing journey, its ongoing evolution. And they want your participation. That your participation as a member of this community is mission critical. matter. Your participation helps to take and carry this forward. So there'll be lots of opportunities as you move forward to dig into this a little bit more. And what I want you to know is from today, you can just take these core values home and you can begin to explore how you can deepen in your capacity to be transformative, loving, and inclusive. You can consider how you can advance the mission and help this community make a difference in the world. Because after all, this is not about me. It's not about the people that showed up. It truly is about you, all of you. And I bless you on that journey and I celebrate you. Amen.